Greetings, believers and non-believers. I'm trying to make that quiet. Apparently this camera's loud, so turn down your speakers because I'm going to go back to my normal voice. Alright, greetings, believers and non-believers. This is Rabbit Ape with a response to a response to a response, or something like that, from a user by the name of Random G with no vowels, link, and he wants to know what my personal definitions of the word religion and atheism are. The context of that is related to these really short videos over here, if you haven't been watching lately and know what's going on. So, I generally take a pretty inclusive definition of the word, but I try to be very careful about how and where I use it. I had been a fan of Richard Dawkins for a couple of years before he wrote The God Delusion, which was largely the catalyst for me applying the label of atheist to myself. And The Selfish Gene is one of my favorite books of all time. Great stuff. But anyway, I was pleasantly surprised when I first heard that he released a book called The God Delusion. Up to that point, I had basically been a functional atheist, meaning I've always been skeptical in how I approach religion, definition coming later, and pretty much everything else. The weird thing, looking back from now, was that at that time I did not have the cognitive vocabulary to really even use the word atheist, let alone apply it to myself. I just kind of lived in a world where people either took the validity of their religious claims for granted, or they didn't acknowledge religion at all, either in a positive or negative light. It just never really came up. So when I read The God Delusion for the first time, that was my introduction to atheism in the assertive sense, meaning an active, affirmative, no, I do not believe this proposition sort of way. It was that, and I discovered YouTube at the same time, pretty much. It was actually when Richard Dawkins appeared on South Park, made me go to the internet and look him up. I stumbled upon videos, and so yeah, and within a couple of days I bought The God Delusion and was posting videos on YouTube, you know, not too long after. In a way, it was really like a light bulb went off, and once someone had pointed it out to me, you know, everything just kind of crystallized, and I went, oh yeah, I guess I am an atheist. Okay. And I've always been, you know, a performer and a creator, if you will, so falling into this YouTube thing has been a pretty natural thing for me to do. So, where was I? Trying to go by a script here, and then I went off book, and now okay. I feel like I should mention the differences between strong atheism versus weak atheism, as in I do not believe, or excuse me, as in I believe that no gods exist versus I do not believe that gods do exist. Sometimes it's a useful distinction, sometimes it's just useless hair splitting. I also belong to the school of thought that says atheism and agnosticism are not mutually exclusive. Time and again I get people that go, whoa, wait a minute, you're not an atheist, you're agnostic. Or, oh no, I'm not an atheist, I'm agnostic, baby. And the typical grievance seems to be that declaring oneself an atheist implies a degree of closed-mindedness. Now I'm looking around my camera in case anyone's wondering, so, and I'm just looking at this, so again, no graphs or anything, feel free to minimize the window. But the typical grievance being that declaring oneself an atheist implies a degree of closed-mindedness, of being closed to the possibility of the existence of some kind of higher being, of course defining this in terms of anything other than an uncaused cause is problematic, and that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, I think the best summary of my definition of the word atheist can be found in this video by Chronic Buddha, and I more or less agree with it 100%. You know, I'm just going to move the camera. This is getting crazy. Now, I can't pretend I'm looking at you. I'm going to be doing this. So yeah, if you really want my definition, check out that video. In practice, of course, people fall along a continuous spectrum, which was outlined by Dawkins in The God Delusion, but the idea is straightforward, and it can be applied to many different beliefs. It's really simple. Just at one end, a person can claim to know that a proposition is true, and you move on down through decreasing levels of confidence, down to genuine 50-50 indifference, down to doubtful, and finally arriving at a person who claims to know that the thing definitely is not true or does not exist. And to me, the word atheism just means without theism, and if you take it literally, it's a pretty good fit for me. A is without, so atheism is without theism. Pretty simple, right? But I think the word is a bit of a double-edged sword, which is why I said I try to be careful about how and where I use it. I've been profoundly influenced by 2 Sam Harris speeches on the subject, links, and I think it might be a good idea for me to make a video just outlining a concise distillation of the ideas laid out here by Sam as I understand them, just, in my own words. But yeah, I'll put that on my list. The super duper tinified in a nutshell version is going to be that the word atheism carries a lot of baggage, and if what we really care about is advocating intellectual honesty, using the word or embracing it might actually be a hindrance to our goals. And so depending on how I'm defining or using the word atheist at any given moment, my working definition of religion will also change accordingly. In a general sense, I take the word religion to mean a unified collection of ideas and or doctrines and or practices and or traditions, typically centered around some element of spirituality, for lack of a better term, and or interacting with or appeasing some kind of God or creative force. But again, context is key. I think it's worth noting, as Sam Harris said in the first of those speeches there, that there is no such thing as, quote, religion in general, unquote. I personally have a feeling of disgust towards the way the Amish keep their children isolated from the developments of the outside world. And I am also disgusted by the crackpots and charlatans who make money by lying about the science of evolution. And I'm disgusted by the people around the world who think that they've got a straight ticket to paradise if they just blow themselves up and take out some innocent bystanders with them. I'm disgusted in each case, and it's tempting, maybe it's convenient or pragmatic to apply that word religion to all of them, but they in a way they can be manifestations of different problems, even if there's some commonality there. And I guess that's kind of key too for drawing down that distinction is even if you can make a case that it in opposition to what Sam Harris said, that there is no religion in general. If you're going to say religion in general is a problem here, then it has a tendency or a potential of framing the discussion in such a way that people who might normally agree with you out of 9 out of 10 policy decisions or whatever, they're going to be in opposition to you just because you've labeled yourself as an atheist or just because you've labeled yourself as being opposed to religion. And so I think that's an important conversation for us to have, and I hope that wasn't too bad. Kind of went off book, and now I'm really off book, so now's a good time to